You ever see like a little guy who you don't expect much from, and you're like, yeah, look at this guy, he's tiny. But then he just displays some phenomenal show of force or power or athleticism that just blows the socks off your Piggly Wigglies. Well, that's what we're talking about today, but in a PC form. More than meets the eye, there's a lot more power in here than what you'd probably expect based on its diminutive size. We're gonna be doing some fun things with him today, like connecting an external GPU to see how much extra gaming performance we can get out of this thing, besides what already comes in the box. And we'll also be connecting it to the ceiling-mounted OLED TV in my bedroom to see how it acts as a home theater PC. Because right now I'm still, punching in things with the TV remote, which is worse than cancer. That's what we're doing today. I am super excited. I've never been this aroused by something so small. This is the Minisforum UM690.
Before we continue, thanks to CD Key Offer for sponsoring this video. Right now, CD Key Offer is having a Windows 10 sale, including global lifetime keys for Windows 10 Pro. Right now, they're even letting you stack my offer code on top of their offer. Use code BITWIT.TECH at checkout for an additional discount and snag a legit Windows 10 key for just $16. Afterwards, simply view and copy the key you just purchased, paste it into the Windows activation page, and presto. Enjoy every feature Windows 10 has to offer, ditch the watermark, and even use it for a free upgrade to Windows 11. CDKeyOffer.com is also having a back-to-school physical sale on gear like mechanical keyboards, gaming headsets, RGB decor, and more. Remember kids, just because you're going back to school doesn't mean you can't leverage this awful time in your life to your benefit. By the way, you don't need to be a student to take advantage of any of these deals, so congratulations, everything sucks a lot less for you. Check out the links in the description below and start browsing all of the limited time deals on CDKeyOffer.com.
This is fairly new. I think it came out like 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now, by the time this video goes up. Like I said, this is the UM690 from Minisforum. This is the first Minisforum product I've ever taken a look at. But what makes this thing so special, apparently, is the CPU that's inside of it, which is an AMD Ryzen 9 6900HX, which is not only a very fast 8-core 16-thread CPU, but it also has RDNA 2 graphics on it. It's got a Radeon 680M with a graphics frequency of 2400 megahertz. That basically makes this one of the fastest APU mini PCs on the market right now. People are excited. I'm definitely gonna throw some games at this thing to see how the integrated graphics chip handles them, but we're also gonna connect an external GPU at some point today because this thing supports external GPUs. We'll talk more about that in a moment, but this particular model also came with 16 gigs of LPDDR5, 4800 speed memory in here. I actually purchased some aftermarket sticks from some SO DIMMs from Team Group that I have already installed into this thing. It's DDR5, LPDDR5 at 5400 speed, so not only are we doubling the capacity that this came with, but we're also speeding up the memory frequency a bit because that is going to make a notable impact, a moderate to significant impact on our gaming performance given the architecture and the nature of the APU that we're working with today. We've also got a 1 terabyte PCIe Gen 4 NVMe M.2 SSD. A quick look at the I/O on this thing. On the front, we've got a power button, combo audio jack, a USB-C port that's labeled USB 4. That's the port that we'll use to connect our eGPU to when we're ready. USB 4, I mean, it's more or less Thunderbolt. We're looking at a Thunderbolt port here, but since Thunderbolt is an Intel standard certification, you're not really gonna see this AMD mini PC advertise that. So USB 4 is what you get. Then we got another Type-C port. This is USB 3.2 Gen 2. This is data only. And then on the back side, we've got DC power, 2.5 gigabit LAN. This also has Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2, by the way. And then a quad array of USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A ports, as well as 2 HDMI ports that do 4K 60 Hertz. Now, Wendell from Level 1 Tech actually did a video on this thing too, and he had mentioned that he was able to connect his to his OLED TV, which is 4K 120 Hertz. Whereas, as I just mentioned, these HDMI ports on paper only deliver 4K 60 Hertz. He said he was able to do that through using a high quality HDMI cable, so I'm gonna put that to the test myself at some point later and see if we can actually utilize this to its fullest on my 4K 120 Hertz OLED TV that's in my bedroom and still get, the highest color space available for that as well. All right, I've been gaming on this thing for a little while now, and I gotta say I'm pretty impressed by the performance so far. I've only played about 3 or 4 games, and everything has been able to run perfectly smooth except one title. There's one title that I'll get to, but right now you can see we've got Doom Eternal fired up at 1920 by 1080 at low settings. It's showing around 60 frames per second right now, which is pretty indicative of the actual gameplay too. When you're running around, smashing or blowing up demons and stuff, shooting things, it's around 60 frames per second, which is fantastic. For an APU inside of this tiny little form factor, it's definitely the most gaming performance I've ever seen out of an integrated graphics chip. So super impressive there. We also have 71C on both, well, the GPU and the CPU are one and the same. So 71C under load, it's been going for about 15 minutes now. Not bad at all. It's staying nice and cool, surprisingly quiet for how cool it's actually staying. I've got the PC right here next to me, which by the way, I should mention, also comes with this little vertical stand, which obviously lets you orient the PC vertically if you want to save a little bit of desk space, or if you find that you happen to get slightly better temperatures or a noise profile this way as well. But what I was saying is, it's super quiet. I can hear it. It's audible under load right now. There's a little fan in there. I mean, if I was standing where the camera is at right now, which is probably only 4.5, 5 feet away, I probably wouldn't be able to hear this over the other PCs that are on in this room right now, which are all idle right now. So that's quite a testament to just how quiet this thing is. It's drawing about 90 watts from the wall, according to the kilowatt. You can actually see it right here. We're getting around 45 watts of draw, both on the GPU side and the CPU side. They both have their own TDP, their own power allocation, even though it's all on the same chip. 90 watts from the wall under load isn't bad. Idling, I was getting around 8 to 12 watts. So, I mean, the thing just sips power, super efficient. Apart from Doom Eternal, I also ran Forza 5 at 1920 by 1080, very low settings, which still looks pretty darn good in that game. It's just a crispy game, even at the lowest possible graphical quality. But we had around 100 frames per second down to 60 frames per second. It was a really wide range because the environments in that game are so varied. Whether you're just like on an open field and there's really nothing to render, it's just sky and the ground, versus a lot of like foliage and brush everywhere, then the frame rate definitely goes down. But overall, still very playable at 1080 very low. I had to throw in CSGO just to see how the PC handles esports titles, even though they're very easy to run. A lot of you guys play them and are probably curious to see roughly what sort of frame rates you can expect from these fast-paced shooters like CSGO, Valorant, and that sort of thing. I was getting around 100 to 150 FPS on a few of the maps, the hostage maps that I was playing, and everything ran very smoothly. It was just kind of like playing on a regular desktop. Didn't really notice too much of a difference. If you're a pro gamer or just very skilled, then that might be a little slow for you. You might be shooting for 300 frames per second or higher, but I think the vast majority of people are going to find that this runs esports titles very, very well. Out of the 4 games I tested, the only one that wouldn't run smoothly at 1080p, regardless of the quality setting, was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I was getting around 30 to 40 FPS in that game, which is just a little too choppy for most people's liking, and that was even at the very lowest quality setting, even with FSR 2 turned on. I don't know, it just didn't seem to actually have an effect on the frame rate whatsoever, so I'm not sure if there's some driver issues there. Trying to play this game was a bit of a reality check, in that this is not a super high-end gaming desktop PC that's just going to run anything you throw at it. It's just not. But for what I've seen it run so far and the performance numbers that we're getting right now, it's super impressive for what it is, and that's integrated graphics. You'd be hard-pressed to get this level of gaming performance out of a PC this small. But I am curious what will happen if we connect this mini gaming PC to an external graphics card. All right, eGPU is all hooked up to the mini PC. We're looking good so far. I have not tested any games yet though, so not 100% sure if it's working properly, but we're gonna find out together. Right now I have an RTX 3080 Ti installed inside of the external enclosure. It's a Founders Edition card. The enclosure itself being the Node Titan from Akitio, I think that's how you pronounce it. I have no idea. It sounds like a Japanese name, but we're gonna be using that, and let's just see. We're gonna jump into the same games that we just tested, starting with, that's regular Doom. I want Doom Eternal, just to see what kind of uplift we see. Now, obviously there's gonna be, like this GPU is not going to perform the same way it would inside of a desktop PC for a number of reasons. For starters, there's just limited bandwidth over Thunderbolt 3 that just can't compete with a full by 16 slot in a desktop motherboard. Obviously, there's a lot more distance between the CPU and GPU in a solution like this as well, which is going to mean higher latency. So that affects it too. And then you also have to consider that the CPU we're using inside of this mini PC is in a different league than a standard desktop CPU. And so you may be introducing a bit more CPU bottlenecking into the equation, especially if you're pairing it with a really fast GPU like the RTX 3080 Ti. So all those things combined, that's why you're gonna see generally a 10 to 20% performance reduction using an eGPU versus that same graphics card being installed in a full-fledged desktop PC. For starters, I'm gonna use the exact same settings that we were just using with the iGPU, which is 1920 by 1080 at low graphic settings, just to see what we get in comparison. We were getting around 60 frames per second on average with the iGPU. What's this gonna do? Looks like we're getting anywhere between 150 to 250 frames per second. Obviously a huge uplift from the 60 FPS average we were just getting on the integrated graphics. Oh God, die. That's what I did. That's not what I was supposed to do. All right, cool. Very, very fast performance with this eGPU. But holy crap, like I didn't install any drivers. This is plug and play. I just connected the power cable to the eGPU enclosure, and then this Thunderbolt cable from the enclosure to the PC. No drivers, and it just works. It just works. That's good. Pretty cool. Even though this is pretty swanky of a solution, most people who buy this mini PC aren't also going to spend the additional cash on a GPU enclosure and a GPU, but it is nice to know that you have that option. If you do fall into that niche of gamer or user, that this thing really can run anything you throw at it. You just gotta throw more money at it first. You know what sounds really good right now? Laying in my bed, drinking a beer, playing Forza 5 on my ceiling-mounted 55-inch OLED TV. But I can't do that until I've connected a gaming PC to said TV, so let's do that. All right, we are at my humble abode now, and as you can see, I actually already have the mini PC connected to the TV in my living room. This is not the TV that we're eventually going to connect it to permanently, but I just wanted to see how it behaves with my LG OLED first. This is an LG C9, OLED C9, and wouldn't you know it, our mini PC is actually outputting 4K 120 hertz, just like that, plug and play, no issues. I'm just using the same HDMI cable that I always use for the other connected PC to this TV, and it's just working no problem. So this bodes well. I'm hoping that we get the same result with the TV in my bedroom, although it may not work because it's not the same TV. It's not even the same brand. It's a Sony OLED. The model name escapes me at the top of my head, but let's just give it a shot and see how it goes. Before we do that though, we first have to lower the ceiling TV in my room. Oh, forgot the motor's kind of slow. I guess we have some time to kill. Okay, that was probably a bit of an exaggeration, but pretty sure the TV's down by now. Ah, damn it. Awful, awful news. My bedroom TV is not doing it. It's not having it, bro. Look at that, 4K 60 hertz. It won't go up to 120, and I don't know why. There's two HDMI 2.1 ports on this TV. I've tried both of them. I'm using the exact same HDMI cable that I was using with the other TV in the living room. We're not even getting 120 hertz at 1920 by 1080. I just tried that, and that's not working either. For some reason, this mini PC likes LG. It don't like Sony. It's a fanboy, and I guess I chose the wrong TV today. But that's okay. You know, I think there's a couple things that make me feel all right about this. For starters, I'm not really gonna be gaming a whole lot on this thing. That was never the intention. It was more so to just have like a little media PC, a home theater PC that makes it easier to navigate. The other thing I was gonna say is that whatever games I do play on this thing are gonna be very casual, like indie games, local co-op games, so I don't really need 120 hertz, even if I am gaming, but it would be really nice to have. In the grand scheme of things, I'm just being an out-of-touch YouTuber who has way too much tech on his hands and needs to touch grass way more often. Maybe in the future, when I actually find a really good mini PC that has HDMI 2.1 on it, that's maybe faster than this one, a couple generations down the line, then we can swap that out and make a video on it and stuff like that. But for now, let's just finish what we're doing here and mount this sucker to the back of the TV. All right, my friends, the installation is complete. And as you can see here, I installed the PC to the bottom of the TV. That way I actually have access to the power button and the USB ports if I need to access them. Also, the cable management, not too much to say about that. Pretty straightforward for the few cables that were there. Just had to tidy them down and make sure that they weren't in the way, particularly of the TV mount. You don't want any of those cables getting caught up or crisscrossed with the moving parts of that ceiling mount. So I just tied that down and made sure everything was nice and neat there. And everything is great. I was playing some Forza 5 on the finished results earlier, had to scale down to 1920 by 1080, but all things considered, a very smooth experience overall. And more or less, I'm just happy that I actually have a PC connected to this TV now because, as I've said a million times already, using the TV UI is just pretty garbage. But that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching this overview or review or whatever you want to call it of the Minisforum UM690. I'll put a link for it in the description in case you're interested. And toss a link on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more tech content coming at you really soon, and I will see y'all in the next video. All right, you guys have to get out of my room now. You are not allowed in here anymore because the video's over. Oh, he's so cute though. He's so cute. All right, maybe one of you leave. How about just you leave? Oh, you're cute too. Damn it. Ugh. Just don't poop on the bed again.